This one.
You want to call him up or?
Yeah, at this time, I would just like to, I know it says presentation, but I'm on the Mahoney County Mental Health and Recovery Board, and every year they have me speak to officers that sign up for CIT training, which is basically, obviously with the opioids going on in the epidemic, and the mergers of the Mental Health and Recovery Board, they've been training officers, I think for about and it's the last maybe 5-6 years. I think it's been further than that.
A little over that.
Yeah, but Dennis is our first officer to go. So basically, it's just training them on the empathy of, it's a different world out there now. You got a lot of mental health problems, you got a lot of opiate problems. So they give a family perspective, they give a diagnostic perspective. I think you guys went to the, where'd you guys go? Dennis, you could just, if you can, please just stand up, kind of give a little overview, because it is something good for Pullman Township.
First of all, I'd like to thank Chief Gooden and both everybody on the board for allowing me to attend this training. Very beneficial to me, myself, and also the police department and every officer out there. It's considered crisis intervention team training through Mahoney County Mental Health and Recovery Board. One of the main focuses is how to safely interact with persons who have mental illness. Not only mental illness, but dealing with the opioids and a combination of drug and mental problems. During the training, we heard perspectives from family members on how to deal with people with mental illness and also drug addiction. Officers gained important resources that they can use while working. Examples being the use of 211 and help hotline, and they set us up with that. Trainings also included topics ranging from suicide prevention, de-escalation techniques, methods of approaching, interviewing techniques, understanding and assessing mental illness, etc. We did have a couple of on-site visits, 3 of them being Mercy Health Psych Unit down in St. E's main campus, Birdman Group Home, and the rescue mission today. Very interesting for me, insight on how to deal with our public. A lot of things that we are seeing is the opioid, but also PTSD, and the officers coming back and what they're strained and going through and how to properly deal with them as an officer. But once again, I want to thank the chief and the board for allowing me to attend this training.
And we are reimbursed, I'm pretty sure, Chief, a grant, correct?
I think there's since we haven't sent an officer, the first one you send, we receive $1,000 from them on a grant. And then as this is something that's been unfortunately presented to me too late. They've given me notice in the last several years, like 2 weeks before the training, and our schedule has not allowed that to take place. So I actually got a call from the Attorney General's office wondering why we've never sent anybody within the last year. And being that we're one of the only departments I think around that has not had one officer trained, it was something I wanted to make sure we started the process. And the way the schedule worked out, Dennis was our first one to go. And each training that they have coming up, I think it's 1 or 2 a year, I want to send an officer each one, so they're all understanding. And this goes back to when I was a patrolman. I got sent to Akron, and I think even in their program it was Lieutenant Woody, whatever his last, or he was a lieutenant with Akron.
His last name is Woody.
It's Woody.
Lieutenant Woody, yes.
And what started this was that they had a mental person that was being aggressive, and I think they ended up shooting the kid, and then realizing that he had mental health issues. And again, it's making officers aware, especially in today's society with what we're going through and everything. It gives them a little bit more understanding of who they may be dealing with, that it might not be an aggressive person that wants to attack them, it's just the mental illness they have. So it's something that I want to make sure that all our guys get to as the future trainings come. And if I can get 2 guys at one time, I want to get caught up, because again, I think we are pretty close to one of the only departments that hasn't sent anybody. And I think it's a great training for our guys to have that extra edge and understanding who they're dealing with in the public because of the ongoing situation. So
Dennis, will you be teaching the other officers, or is it just not
I
really?
can pass on my experiences to the other officer. I'm not a trainer,
Okay,
but I will definitely be talking to officers, especially ones I've worked close with, and so they understand how I am interacting with them.
great.
So
Thank
not
you.
just the medical person, but the officer too.
Yeah, I actually want to follow up on that same note there insofar as chief, do we have something where, like during roll call or something else like that, where Dennis can convey this, you know,
Like he
across
says,
the
he
board?
passes it on to the officers he works with, but this is more, it's not a train-the-trainer type.
I understand
program.
that.
In the meantime, as Dennis said, as he's working with officers as he goes through, you know, the guys do that now, as
We
they
do
go
that
through
every time we
training.
exchange. Most
I
of
just
the
wanted to
guys-
make sure that it got all the way through. I mean, the experiences that you had here and how to relay some of those things that you picked up here. I know you're not training, you know, but at the same time, wanting to make sure that it, you know, permeated through the force
Like the chief said.
in its
we have a
entirety and
good
as quickly as
relationship
possible.
with each other, and the first question most of the officers are gonna say, what can you tell me that you learned? And we pass it on in between one another.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis, thank you very much for taking your time and doing that.
I enjoyed it, thank you very much.